Hi, welcome to another instalment of London's Fashion Alphabet. I'm Lucie Whitmore, I'm fashion curator here at the Museum of London, and today we are going to be looking at the letter O. And O today is for Otto Lucas, a successful millinery company that ran in London from 1932 to 1971. He sold fashionable and fairly expensive hats, both directly to customers and supplying department stores and other designers. Otto Lucas wasn't actually a hands-on designer himself, but he had an incredible eye for what worked and what didn't, and he was really careful about who he employed and how he managed his workroom. So he, in the Parisian tradition, employed two female modelists or designers who were always addressed as Madame, whether or not they were actually French. There were around 30 to 40 female milliners who worked below the designers, and those are all incredibly skilled women doing a bulk of the production of hats like these. There would also be 2 or 3 hat blockers. This was traditionally a man's job, and one of his former employees remembers that it was often Cockney men who worked in those roles, and they were the ones that were shaping the hats over the hat blocks, and it was just slightly tougher work. Also employed in the Otto Lucas workroom was Frederick Fox, a young milliner from Australia who went on to great things after his time with Otto Lucas. He eventually became milliner to the Queen and to the royal family, and as you can see on the hat box we have here, the seal is printed on the top of the box, by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen Milliners, Frederick Fox. But after working for Otto, he first went on to a couple of different companies, including Longet of London, and this is one of the hats he designed during his time there, and I think we can all agree it is true jellyfish fabulous. Otto Lucas was extremely financially successful in his time. He was known as the millionaire, and he was really prolific. In the last year of his company, they turned out 55,000 hats. He was also in demand and popular and fashionable, and his hats featured on the front cover of Vogue numerous times. So this one is from August 1958, and this one is from September 1965, with a trio of black and white Otto Lucas hats on the front cover. So that shows you really how influential and how well known he was in his time. We're really lucky to have 3 Otto Lucas hats in our collection, the 2 you can see here, and this beautiful yellow velvet number. So this one we know was sold through Harrods, one of the many department stores that he supplied, because of the label on the inside, which says Otto Lucas Jr. and then a Harrods label stitched in next to it. This hat dates from the late 60s or the very early 70s, so the very end period that his company was running. And this was probably maybe a diffusion line. It might have been sold at a slightly lower price and aimed at a slightly younger customer. So these 2 hats were worn by a woman called Anne Marcus, and they were donated by Anne's son Gerald in memory of his mother, who he described as a very fashionable and fashion conscious woman. So both of these hats date from around 1945 to 1950. The blue hat is made from a woven blue iridescent straw. It's really beautifully finished with just a subtle bit of drama with the net and these sort of straw, almost feather shapes crowning out of the top. And it's all been woven in a sort of conical pattern. So the coral red velvet pillbox style hat is the more dramatic of the 2, with a full veil for her face with the tiny little points of fluff in the net, and then really half a bird attached to the top for maximum drama. It's actually made slightly in the style of a 19th century riding hat. You can just see that in the small brim around the sides. My very favourite thing about these hats is that they come with their own matching hat pins, and that just shows the sort of calibre of the Otto Lucas product, this detail, and the eye for detail that he had in finishing things so beautifully. It was Otto's love of opera that regularly took him to Salzburg, and tragically he was on board BEA Flight 706 from Heathrow to Salzburg in October 1971 when the plane experienced a fault and then crash landed over Belgium. Tragically, everybody on board, passengers and crew, were killed, and that was the end of the Otto Lucas business as well. One final legacy of Otto Lucas and his company is that his hats survive in museum collections all around the world today, and we are so lucky to have these 3 beautiful models in the Museum of London collection. Thank you so much for joining us for this instalment of London's Fashion Alphabet. We will be back next week with the letter P.